resting in a wooden mill. We bought it with a jagged and a vicious tooth. It cracked the roasted beans with a violent bite, but turning up the handle takes a steady toll. A physical erasing of the ceramic soul. The friction of the roasting wears the danger down. A daily repetition dragging through the town. The edges lose the sharpness in a velvet slide. The stone surrenders danger to a steady grind. A beautiful devotion we have left behind. The worn burrs turning in the wooden base. A loyal little partner in a working space. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing round, and cannot brew a morning with a jagged stone. I turn the faded handle I have always known. The worn burrs turning in the wooden base. A loyal little partner in a working space. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing round. You cannot brew a morning with a jagged stone. I turn the faded handle I have always known. We used to force the crushing in a rapid strike, a terrifying notion we were too alike. But time allows the ceramic to dictate the speed. The stone absorbs the shadow of the passing year. I turn the iron handle on the bitter seed, and feel the perfect rhythm of the love we need. Turn the iron crank, hear the steady crush. Taste the rising dark, lose the morning rush. The damage is a blessing in a solid form, a reliable protection from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for a rigid spine is leaving all the flavor of the heart behind. Love requires a grinding of the outer shell to merge the different layers and to do it well. We let the roasted timber shave the stubborn curve, and validated everything the lovers serve. I lift the wooden drawer from the working mill, accepting the devotion that is growing still. The worn burrs turning in the wooden base, turn it round. A loyal little partner in the working space. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing round, and cannot brew a morning with the jagged stone. I trust the faded handle I have always known. The stone is smooth, the scent is deep. We are one.
We bought it with a rigid and a yellow peak. It gave a stiff resistance to the human hand, a stubborn piece of timber in a rugged land. But climbing up the mountain takes a steady toll, a physical recording of a weary soul. The friction of the fingers rubs the yellow dark, a lasting illustration of a working mark. The cork absorbs the moisture of the summer sweat, a daily repetition we do not forget. The tempo wears a valley for the pressing thumb, a custom preparation for the miles to come. It fits the human contour in a solid slide, a dedicated shelter on the mountainside. The cork surrenders attention to the waiting hand, the perfect integration in a rolling land. The molded grip resting in the morning dew, a loyal piece of timber I trust the darkened handle in a quiet space. The molded grip resting in the morning dew. A loyal piece of timber holding on to you. We wore the bitter edges to a custom slide and engineered a harbor where the fingers hide. You cannot climb a mountain with a slippery base. I trust the darkened handle in a quiet space. We used to search the market for a brand new pair, believing in a vanity we could not share. But rigid little circles slip and drop away, defeating all the logic of a climbing day. The ruined edges resting on my inner palm, providing a devotion and a steady calm. The grooves align exactly with my weary bone, a comforting reminder I am not alone. Hold the timber tight, walk the rocky trail, feel the custom fit, never let it fail. The wearing is a blessing in a solid form, a cozy little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for a rigid start is missing all the yielding of a working heart. Love requires a rubbing of the outer grain to navigate the climbing and absorb the pain. We let the passing seasons shape the wooden core and validated everything we bargained for. I pulled the tension on the bending rod, accepting the devotion on the summer sod. The molded grip resting in the morning dew. Hold it firm, a loyal piece of timber holding on to you. Keep it safe. We wore the bitter edges to a custom slide and engineered a harbor where the fingers hide. You cannot climb a mountain with a slippery base. I trust the darkened handle in a quiet space. The grip is dark, the hold is firm. We are fine.
A paper shell hanging on a bamboo frame. We lit the inner candle in the early night to navigate the shadows with the golden light. It blocked the sudden breezes from the open door, but dancing in the weather takes a brutal tear. A microscopic failure in the freezing air. The wind becomes an angry in the vicious gale. A terrible condition on the outer side. A miserable damage with no place to hide. The gap invites the freezing on the windowsill. The rushing oxygen attacks the glowing string, erasing all the magic of the burning thing. The flame surrenders logic to a wisp of smoke, a physical disaster from the words we spoke. The shield is torn apart and shadows enter in. A devastating ending where the tears began. The torn lantern swinging in the bitter cold. I try to block the damage, but the paper rips. A miserable failing on the sinking ships. You cannot save a fire when the wall is dead. I stare at the disaster of the words we said. Torn lantern swinging in the bitter cold. I try to block the damage, but the paper rips. A miserable failing on the sinking ships. You cannot save a fire when the wall is dead. I stare at the disaster of the words we said. We acted like the shelter was a given right. ignoring all the dangers in the open night. But paper is an instrument that easily fails, a devastating marker on the sinking sails. The candle sits in darkness on the wooden floor, a physical reminder it will glow no more. I try to light a match against the broken frame, but wind refuses playing such a fragile game. Strike the wooden match, watch the paper tear, fail to catch the light, breathe the silent air. The damage is a poison to a steady spark, a devastating ending in the pitch black dark. I realize that relying on a broken sheet is guaranteeing all the bitter sad defeat. Love requires a barrier that is firm and tight to separate the fire from the fading light. We let the weather ruin up the fragile wall, invalidated every single massive fall. I dropped the ruined vessel in the muddy street, accepting the disaster of a cold defeat. The torn lantern swinging in the bitter cold, a tragic little ending getting dark and old. I try to block the damage, but the paper rips, a miserable failing on the sinking ships. You cannot save a fire when the wall is dead. I leave the broken shelter and the words we said. The paper tears, the flame is gone, I am dark.
Pushing on the pedals takes a grinding fee, a physical destruction of the you and me. We forced a heavy iron on a steep incline, ignoring all the limits of the grand design. The friction of the journey wears the edges down, a T surrender volume to a rounded stub, a miserable ending in the moving hub. I stand upon the pedals to engage the speed, expecting a reaction to a driving need. But metal glides on metal in a useless spin, a paralyzed defender letting nothing in. The gear refuses friction and the chain is free, a devastating failure on a working sea. I try to push the pedal but the circles fly, a disconnected motion on a working lie. You cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. Let's try, push the pedal but the circles fly, a disconnected motion on a working lie. You cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the energy was an endless grace, ignoring all the weather in an open space. But grinding up the metal leaves a fatal void, a devastating ending we cannot avoid. The chain is spinning wildly on the ruined gear, a miserable marker of a broken year. The wheel remains unmoving on the concrete floor, a physical reminder we can drive no more. Push the useless bar, watch the pedal spin, fail to catch a grip, let the anger in. The mechanism freezes in a rigid bind, a devastated engine we have left behind. I realize the forcing an infected line is ruining the logic of a deep design. Love requires a friction, holding in the dark to brace against the tension and provide a spark. We ground the vital edges in a selfish test, and ruined all the actors on a sweet request. I walk away and leave the metal in the rain, accepting the division separating us again. The stripped sprocket slipping on the metal track, lose the grip. I try to push the pedal, but the circles fly, a disconnected motion on a working lie. Cannot drive a journey when the link is dead. I leave the ruined metal and the tears we shed. The gear is stripped, the wheel is still, I am done.
A piece of height, shaped into a mitt, a rugged pocket ready just to fit. We bought it stiff and rigid from the store, a stubborn barrier asking nothing more. It bounced the baseball back upon the dirt, a minor sting arriving with the hurt. But playing catch across the summer days reveals a yielding in a dusty haze. The leather drinks the sweat and takes the oil, a shining token of a working toil. The pocket deepens to a steady sphere, it takes the fastest pitch without a pain. The rigid fingers bend to close the trap, a flawless navigation on a working map. The leather drops the tension for a perfect catch, a reliable mechanic in a steady match. The softened glove, waiting in the evening sun, a loyal little partner when the day is done. We wore the bitter stiffness to a velvet band, and engineered a shelter for a working friend. You cannot catch a bullet with a rigid stone. I trust the faded kite I've always known. The softened glove, waiting in the evening sun, a loyal little partner when the day is done. We wore the bitter stiffness to a velvet band, and engineered a shelter for a working friend. You cannot catch a bullet with a rigid stone. I trust the faded kite I have always known. We used to brace for impact with the heavy fear, anticipating damage in a given year, but finding out a rhythm makes the burden light, a flawless integration in the fading night. The glove absorbs the momentum of the flying weight, a dedicated guardian at the closing gate. I wrap the leather strings around my weary hand and feel the steady comfort in a working land. Hold the leather wide, watch the baseball fly, catch the heavy stride, see the cloudy sky. The yielding is a blessing in a rugged form, a cozy little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for a rigid start is missing all the magic of a yielding heart. Love requires a soft and nutty outer skin to wrap around a danger and to pull it in. We let the passing pictures break the leather down, invalidated every journey through the town. I punch the deepest pocket with a steady fist, accepting the devotion that we never miss. The softened glove, waiting in the evening sun, catch the loyal little partner when the day is done. Keep it white, with a stiffness to a velvet band, an engineered a shelter for a working friend. You cannot catch a bullet with a rigid stone. I trust the faded guide I've always known. The height is so, the catch is true. We are safe.
Yeah. A canvas sack sitting on the living floor, a giant cushion by the open door. We bought it round and bursting at the seam, a buoyant sphere inside a waking dream. It held us high above the wooden ground, a bouncy little island we had finally found. But resting on the fabric takes a steady toll, a physical compression of the working soul. The tiny little bees begin to crush and slide, escaping all the pressure on the inner side. The sphere collapses to a flattened shape, but losing all the volume create custom mold. A physical translation getting brave and old. It takes the exact dimension of our resting spine, a reliable mechanic crossing yours and mine. The stuffing yields its structure to the heavy weight, a beautiful surrender, altering the fate. The flattened beanbag, holding up the lazy day, a loyal little partner keeping doubt away. We wore the bit of tension to a custom slide, and engineered a harbor where the lovers hide. You cannot find a comfort on a rigid sphere. I lean into the fabric and the coast is clear. The flattened beanbag, holding up the lazy day, a loyal little partner keeping doubt away. We wore the bit of tension to a custom slide, and engineered a harbor where the lovers hide. You cannot find a comfort on a rigid sphere. I lean into the fabric and the coast is clear. We used to roll and tumble from the bouncy peak, a miserable struggle that the novices seek. But sinking in the center brings a gentle peace, a flawless navigation bringing sweet release. The fabric wraps around us like a steady glove, a physical recording of a growing love. I drop my weary body in the familiar den, accepting all the magic of the time we spent. Push the canvas down, feel the filling yield, sink into the shape, walk the open field. The dropping is an asset in a rugged form, a brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for an untouched height is missing all the logic of a peaceful night. Love requires thinking of the outer shell to navigate the resting and to do it well. We let the passing gravity destroy the round and validated every harbor we have found. I stretch my weary muscles in the fading light, accepting the devotion making matters right. The flattened beanbag, holding up the lazy day, sink right in, a loyal little partner keeping doubt away. Hold it close. We wore the bit of tension to a custom slide, and engineered a harbor where the lovers hide. You cannot find a comfort on a rigid sphere. I trust the faded fabric and the coast is clear. The flag is split, the fit is right. We are home.
A metal dome sitting on the steering bar, a designated warning for a passing car. We flipped the plastic level with the wrapping thumb. The striker hit the iron with the piercing thing, but sitting in the moisture takes a hidden toll, a chemical destruction of the brain and soul. The brain invades the housing through a tiny slit, a miserable error with the shadows sit. The iron striker oxidizes to a rigid grid, erasing all the function of the words we said. I pulled a little lever to express a fear, anticipating magic in the fading year. But metal grinds on metal in a hollow scrape, a paralyzed defender offering no escape. The ringing is denied and the danger grows, a tragic limitation that the rider knows. The rusted bell failing on the metal track, a miserable error holding safety back. I try to sound a warning, but the iron binds. You cannot clear a path when the voice is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. The rusted bell failing on the metal track, miserable error holding safety back. I try to sound a warning, but the iron binds. You cannot clear a path when the voice is dead. I the tears we shed. We acted like the safety was a given right, ignoring all the weather in the open night. But rust is an infection, stopping every sound, a devastating marker on the solid ground. The danger is approaching on a rapid speed, and we possess no instrument to state our need. I flick the useless lever in the frantic test, a terrifying answer to a dark request. Pull the plastic switch, hear the dull scrape, feel the ring, the chime, feel the find escape. The silence is a poison to a moving frame, a miserable ending in a losing game. I realize that forcing an infected joint is ruining the logic of the breaking point. Love requires an instrument that functions clear to broadcast all the warnings in the passing year. We left the iron soaking in a bitter storm and ruined all the function of the working form. I drop my weary hands and accept the hit, accepting the disaster, I must admit. The rusted bell failing on the metal track, here it's great, a miserable error holding safety back. Lose the sound, I try to sound a warning, but the iron binds. You cannot clear a path when the voice is dead. I leave the frozen metal and the tears we shed. The bell is mute, the path is blocked. I am done.
Paper sack, a paper sack, a paper sack dangling on a cotton string, a delicate container for a bitter thing. We dropped it in the water of a waiting cup to mix a steady comfort as we wake it up. The liquid turned a gentle in a golden hue, a flawless operation meant for me and you. Steeping in the boiling takes a heavy toll, a structural destruction of the paper soul. The tissue is the limit of the holding seam, a devastating error in a waking dream. The paper rips apart into a jagged hole, releasing all the bitterness without control. The leaves explode and scatter in the rolling tide, erasing all the sweetness we attempt to hide. The liquid is polluted by the floating debris, a miserable ending covering the sea. The filter breaks in pieces and the dark escapes, a tragic little ruin in the changing shapes. The torn teabag spilling in the boiling wave, a miserable ending we could never save. I try to pull the cotton but the bag is dead, a physical rejection of the words we said. You cannot sip a comfort when the brew is black. I stare at the disaster never coming back. The torn teabag spilling in the boiling wave, a miserable ending we could never say. I try to pull the cotton but the bag is dead, a physical rejection of the words we said. You cannot sip a comfort when the brew is black. I stare at the disaster never coming back. We acted like the barrier was forever strong, defying all the physics of a moving song. But paper is an instrument that easily fails, a devastating marker on the sinking sails. The mud contains a chaotic and a bitter mud, a toxic inundation of a rising flood. I cannot take a swallow of the ruined drink, a paralyzed reflection of the way I think. Pull the cotton thread, watch the paper tear, see the leaves escape, breathe the bitter air. The vessel is a casualty of too much heat, a paper desperation in a sad defeat. I realize that forcing in excess of brew It's throwing out the magic meant for me and you. Love requires a netting that is firm and tight to separate the darkness from the fading light. We ripped the vital barrier in a selfish run and ruined all the flavor of the rising sun. I dropped the ruined handle in the kitchen sink, accepting the disaster of a bitter drink. Torn teabag, spilling in the boiling wave. Watch it spread. A miserable ending we can never say. Who's the day? I try to pull the cotton, but the bag is dead. The physical rejection of the words we said. You cannot sip a comfort when the brew is black. I leave the ruins to remain, never coming back. The bag is the drink is spoiled. I am done.
A metal ring sitting on a yellow spine, a functional addition to a straight design. It held a pink rubber in a rigid bite, a dedicated instrument to make it right. We dragged it on the paper to erase a flaw, the finest resolution that we ever saw. But erasing all the errors takes a rubbing toll, a physical reduction of the rubber sole. The pink material vanishes inside the bend, exposing the aluminum to a heavy hand. The metal scrapes the paper with a sudden threat, a terrifying danger we do not forget. But leaning on the pressure makes the iron yield, a physical surrender in a working field. The ferrule bends and flattens to a rounded dome, a custom indentation in a working home. The paper without any tear, a flawless operation in the open air. The metal loses danger to a steady press, a beautiful solution to a daily mess. The Worn Ferrule gliding on the written sheet, a loyal little partner making life complete. We ground the bitter to a soothing slide and engineered a shelter where the errors hide. You cannot fix a mistake with a tearing blade. I trust the flattened metal in the quiet shade. The Worn Ferrule riding on the written sheet, a partner making life complete. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing slide and engineered a shelter where the errors hide. You cannot fix a mistake with a tearing blade. I trust the flattened metal in the quiet shade. We used to fight the writing with a rigid pride, refusing to adjust the heavy outer hide. But yielding up the ego takes the danger out, erasing all the malice and the lingering doubt. The folded metal acts like a forgiving hand, a physical devotion in a working land. I run the flat aluminum across the line and feel the steady harmony of yours and mine. Push the timber down, watch the graphite fade, feel the metal slide, keep the promise made. The bending is a blessing in a rugged form, a brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. Realizing hoping for an untouched gear is leaving all the effort in a distant year. Love requires a bending of the outer shield to navigate the errors in an open field. We let the past and friction wear the metal flat, and validated everything we marvel at. I placed the yellow pencil on the wooden board, accepting all the part, and we can now afford edge is flat, the page is clear, we are fine. Faded.
In the center of the corky wall to hold a print of memory preventing a fall. It carried a reflection of a golden shine, a pristine little circle crossing out the line. But shifting all the photos takes a human touch, a physical devotion that we value much. The finger pushes heavy on the golden dome, a daily repetition. The shiny outer coating vanishes away, a visual transition of a passing day. The raw brass absorbs the oil of the skin, a microscopic magic waiting to begin. It takes a custom polish from the pressing thumb, the physical preparing for the things to come. The metal gives its vanity to secure the past, a beautiful dedication that will always last. The polished thumbtack holding up the smiling face, a loyal little partner in a quiet space. We wore the bitter edges to a glowing round and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot hold a memory with the slippery shell. I trust the faded metal working very well. The polished thumbtack holding up the smiling face, a loyal little partner in a quiet space. We wore the bitter edges to a glowing round and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot hold a memory with the slippery shell. I trust the faded metal working very well. We used to judge the beauty by an untouched gleam, a superficial actor in a waking dream. But glossy little items drop and slip away, defeating all the logic of a working stay. The rugged little circle has a steady grip, a flawless navigation on a sailing ship. It secures the newest picture without any slide, a physical devotion on the inner side. Push the metal down, secure the printed sheet, feel the custom shine, make the board complete. A brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for an endless glow is missing all the substance that the lovers know. Love requires a rubbing of the outer face to navigate the holding in a given space. We let the passing friction wear the coating out and washed away the center of a lingering doubt. I pressed the golden circle in the fading light, accepting the perfection of a steady sight. Holding up the smiling face, press it down, a loyal little partner in a quiet space. Keep it safe, we wore the bitter edges to a glowing round and engineered the shelter we have finally found. You cannot hold a memory with a slippery shell. I trust the faded metal working very well. The brass is smooth, the frame is safe. We are here.
A metal spike. A metal spike resting on the cooking the rack, a simple piece of iron on a burning track. We use it to assemble all the heavy meat, a calculated dinner on a working street. It lay perfectly level on the iron grate, a flawless operation altering the fate. But pushing through the gristle takes a brutal force, a devastating error on a working course. We force the silver needle with the selfish might, refusing to maneuver in the fading light. The iron hits a boundary it cannot exceed, a tragic limitation of a basic need. The needle takes a severe and a sudden bend, a miserable breaking of a working friend. The center drops an angle in a rigid V, a permanent division hiding you and me. The structure loses logic and the balance drops, a devastating error where the rolling stops. The Bent Skewer stopping on the iron grate, a tragic limitation of a burning fate. I try to turn the metal but the angle locks, a miserable failure of the broken blocks. You cannot cook a future on a crooked line. I stare at the disaster of your heart and mind. The structure loses logic and the balance drops, a devastating error where the rolling stops. We acted like the tension was an easy slide, ignoring all the toughness that we try to hide. But pushing past the limit ruins all the spin, a miserable lane waiting to begin. The meat is burning heavy on a single face, a tragic devastation in a narrow space. The other side is freezing and completely raw, a type of execution that we ever saw. I try to roll the iron with a push and thumb, but geometry refuses what is yet to come. Crooked spike, hit the iron scrape, fair to turn the meat, fair to fry and escape. And it is a poison to a steady flame, a devastating ending in a losing game. I realized the function in a natural shape is throwing all the den into a dark escape. Love requires the straightness to enable turn, or regulate the fire and watch it burn. We shop a silver metal in a reckless fit, and force the conversation to a sudden quit. I dropped the ruined dinner in a garbage bin, accepting the disaster of the state I am in. The tragic temptation of a burning vein, try to turn the metal but the angle locks, a miserable failure of the broken blocks. You cannot cook a future on a crooked line. I leave the ruined metal in your heart and mind. Strike has been, the fight is dead. I am blessed. Strike has been, the fight is dead. I am blessed. Plastic neck. The plastic neck. The plastic neck. A plastic neck sitting on a lotion jar, a simple little engine looking like a star. We push the heavy button for a soft release, a calculated measure for a daily piece. The spring inside the housing gave a steady push, but letting dirty water seep inside the coil delivers an infection to the moving toil. The debris settles deeply in the metal wire, devastating cancellation of a deep desire. I press the white cylinder to draw the cream, a casual interaction in a waking dream. But traveling to the bottom makes the plastic bind, a physical reflection of divided minds. The button stays depressed and will not travel back, a miserable ending on a broken track. The mechanism freezes, the mechanism freezes, and the liquid track. The jam pump sinking in the plastic head, a tragic little ending of the words we said. I try to pull the nozzle, but the tension binds. You cannot draw a comfort when the spring is dead. I stare at the disaster in the empty bed. The jam pump sinking in the plastic head, a tragic little ending of the words we said.
like the giving was an endless flow, a guaranteed delivery that the lovers know. But blocking up the center leaves a fatal void, a devastating ending we cannot avoid. The lotion is secure inside the heavy glass, a ghost of an emotion we can never pass. I try to force the cylinder to make a move, but logic is a failure in the narrow groove. Push the plastic down, watch the button stick. Fail to pull the cream, lose the magic trick. The debris is a poison to a moving part, the tragic cancellation of a weary heart. I realized that forcing an infected gear is ruining the rhythm of a passing year. Love requires a spring that can return the force, to navigate the given on a steady course. We let the silent anger gem the central wire, and validated all the fading of the fire. I dropped the heavy bottle in the garbage bin, accepting the disaster of the state I am in. The jammed pump sinking in the plastic head, watch it stick. The tragic little ending of the words we said. Lose the flow, I try to pull the nozzle, but the tension binds. You cannot draw comfort when the spring is dead. I leave the broken plastic in the empty bed. The pump is down, the flow is dead. I am done.
A wooden bar resting on a metal frame. We pressed it down to make a little empty space, a breathing room inside a complicated place. It started with a heavy and it painted black, a flawless little border on a ticking track. But pushing on the center takes a rubbing toe, a physical erasing of the wooden soul. The thumb strikes heavy on the painted outer coat, a steady navigation on a sailing boat. The black enamel vanishes and leaves the pine, a naked illustration of the grand design. The timber wears into a gentle curve and dip, a custom indentation for a working grip. It takes the human pressure with the velvet slide, erasing all the tension we attempt to hide. The timber gives its vanity to form a gap, a beautiful surrender on a working map. The Worn Spacebar, giving us a room to breathe, a loyal little partner letting anger leave. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing pound, and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot write a story on a crowded line. Spacebar, giving us a room to breathe, a loyal little partner letting anger leave. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing ground, engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot write a story on a crowded line. I trust the faded timber of your heart. We used to force the letters in a heavy block, a suffocating cluster on a ticking clock. But adding up the silence makes the rhythms know the hollow space the hollow space accommodates the weary hand, a physical devotion in a working land. I rest my weary finger on the naked wood, accepting all the magic where the shelter stood. Push the timber down, make the empty space, separate the words, find a better pace. The wearing is a blessing in a solid form, a brilliant little harbor from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for a flawless coat is ruining the poetry the lovers wrote. Love requires a yielding of the outer shell to navigate the space, and then to do it well, we let the passing friction caught the wooden core and validated everything we bargained for. I strike the final spacing in the fading light, accepting the perfection of a peaceful night. The Worn Spacebar, giving us a room to breathe. Press it down, loyal little partner, let getting girly. Make a space. We ground the bitter edges to a soothing ground. Oh, and engineer the shelter we have finally found. You cannot write a story on a crowded line. I trust the faded timber of your heart and mine. The wood is bare, the space is clear. We are fine.
A plastic ring resting on the metal band. We bought it with a shiny and a leather face. It pushed against the temple with a heavy seal. But wearing it for hours takes a rubbing toe. But wearing it for hours takes a rubbing toe. A physical erasing of the outer soul. The synthetic leather crumbles into tiny flakes. A miserable shedding of the past mistakes. The black material vanishes to leave the foam. A naked little cushion in a working home. It takes the custom contour of the human ear. A physical devotion in a passing year. The sponge absorbs the pressure with the velvet slide, protecting all the music that we keep inside. The barrier surrenders vanity to build a base. A beautiful for the words we said. We wore the shiny cover to a naked core and engineered a shelter we can ask for more. You cannot hear the magic through a rigid shell. I trust the faded cushion working very well. The peeling earpad resting on the weary head. A loyal little partner for the words we said. We were the shiny cover to a naked core and engineered a shelter we can ask for more. You cannot hear the magic through a rigid shell. I trust the faded cushion working very well. We used to judge the audio by a flawless skin. A superficial vanity we wallow in, but shiny covers hesitate to bend and yield. A miserable standing on a frozen field. The naked yellow sponge delivers absolute embrace. A flawless navigation in a crowded space. It filters out the static and the background noise, providing a devotion for the broken toys. Where the faded foam block the noisy street. Hear the inner song, make the life complete. The flaking is a blessing in a physical form. A reliable protection from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for an untouched gleam is missing all the resonance awakened dream. Love requires a stripping of the outer pride to navigate the listening on the inner side. We let the passing friction rub the leather out and washed away the center of a lingering doubt. I pull the heavy cushion on my weary ear, accepting all the harmony I finally hear. Peeling earpad resting on the weary head. Where it's all a loyal little partner for the words we said. For the shiny cover to a naked core and engineered a shelter we can ask for more. You cannot hear the magic through a rigid shell. I trust the faded cushion working very well. The foam is soft. The song is clear. We are fine.
A metal plug resting on a rubber wire, a dedicated engine for a working fire. We pushed it in the socket of the glowing screen to power up the logic of a moving scene. But charging up a battery inside the heat delivers a destruction and a cold defeat. The temperature rises in the narrow gap, a miserable failure of a working map. The silver medal yields under the rising stress. The rectangle bends into a crooked arch, a devastating ending on a working march. I try to force the iron in the waiting port, but geometry refuses such a broken sword. It bounces off the plastic with a heavy click. A paralyzed defender making matters sick. The metal loses shape and the connection dies. A devastating failure under weary eyes. I try to push the copper, but the angle blocks. A miserable puzzle in the broken locks. You cannot feed an engine when the plug is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. Oh, warp connector failing at the narrow door. A tragic little ending asking nothing more. I try to push the copper, but the angle blocks. A miserable puzzle in the broken locks. You cannot feed an engine when the plug is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the tension was a given right, ignoring all the fever in the open night. But heat is an infection bending every gear, a devastating marker of a broken year. The screen is flashing warnings of a closing end, a permanent division of a working friend. I jiggle up the wire but the iron slips, a miserable ending for the sinking ships. Push the crooked plug, hear the plastic scrape. Fail to find the slot, fail to find escape. The error was a poison to a steady stream, a devastating ending of a waking dream. I realized that forcing in a natural bend is guaranteeing tragedy will soon descend. Love requires a channel that is straight and clear to calculate the voltage in a given year. We let the toxic fever up the silver base and ruined all the access in the open space. I dropped the room wire on the wooden floor, accepting that the power will return no more. Watch it fail, watch it fail. I try to push the copper but the angle blocks, a miserable puzzle in the broken locks. You cannot feed an engine when the plug is dead. I leave the broken wire and the tears we shed. The plug is bent, the screen is dark. I am done.
Cross bolted at a central pin, a cutting mechanism where the tasks begin. We held it by the handles in a plastic grip, a navigating tool upon a moving ship. It severed up the paper in a flawless glide, but trying to cut iron takes a brutal feat, a devastating error meant for you and me. We squeeze the heavy handles on a copper wire, igniting all the danger of a selfish fire. The sharp design surrenders to a violent chip, a microscopic crater on the metal lip. Now opening the scissors to divide a sheet delivers a destruction in a cold defeat. The broken blade refuses to complete the slice. It chews the fragile paper in a heavy vice. The edges are rugged in a torn array, a miserable ending to a working day. The iron loses logic and the cutting dies, a tragic limitation under weary eyes. The chip scissors chewing on the paper fold, the devastating story that the lovers told. I try to make a line but all the edges tear, a miserable failure in the open air. You cannot make a separation clean and tight. I stare at the disaster in the fading night. Chip scissors chewing on the paper fold, the devastating story that the lovers told. I try to make a line but all the edges tear, a miserable failure in the open air. You cannot make a separation clean and tight. I stare at the disaster in the fading night. Acted like the tension was a harmless tool, defying all the physics of a working rule. But forcing up an obstacle against a blade destroys the careful tuning that the maker made. The document is shattered in a messy rip, a devastating anchor on a sinking ship. I try to push the iron through the written word, but friction ruins everything we ever heard. Squeeze the plastic ring, feel the metal bind, watch the paper rip, consolation of a weary heart. I realize the force in an unnatural cut is keeping all the avenues forever shut. Love requires an instrument that functions clear to navigate the separation in a given year. We broke the vital iron in a reckless test, ruined all the logic of a sweet request. I dropped the ruined scissors in the garbage bin, accepting the disaster of the state I am in. Chip scissors chewing on the paper fall. Watch it rip. I try to make a line but all the edges tear. A miserable failure in the open air. You cannot make a separation clean and tight. I leave the broken metal in the fading night. The blade is dead, the page is torn. I am done.
We bought it looking perfect in a pristine flat. It spun upon the player with a rigid grace, but resting by the window in the summer sun introduces damage to a working run. The heat begins the blasting of the outer ledge. The plastic loses vanity and takes a wave. It sits upon the turntable and starts to rise, an undulating rhythm under very well. The flatness yields to weather we were meant to save. We lost the rigid borders to a custom slide. You cannot hear the magic on a perfect line. I trust the wavy plastic of your heart and mind. Line. I trust the wavy plastic of your heart and mind. We used to judge the audio by a spotless track, a superficial logic, never looking back. But flawless little circles play a rigid tone, the miserable symptom of a working clone. The pitch goes up and down upon the rising hill, a physical devotion that is growing still. Watch the vinyl spin, see the needle rise, hear the waving chord, look into my eyes. The damage is a blessing in a sonic form, a brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. That hoping for a rigid flat is missing all the logic we are looking at. Love requires a bending of the outer spine to integrate the rhythm of your life and mine. We let the passing summer warp the plastic face and validated everything in open space. I dropped the silver needle in the fading light, accepting the perfection of a wavy night. Let it spin. Loyal little partner we were meant to save. Hear the sound. We lost the rigid borders to a custom slide. Oh, you cannot hear the magic on a perfect
resting on a metal post. A dedicated harbor I can value most. We bought it looking pristine with a shiny coat, a geometric armor on a moving boat. It gave a stiff resistance to the weary bone, a rigid limitation we have always known. But riding down the highway takes a steady toll, a physical erasing of the leather sole. The friction of the pedaling wears the surface thin, exposing all the raw material within. The shiny finish vanishes and leaves a stain, a visual recording of a passing pain. But underneath the damage is a custom curve, a dedicated harbor ready just to serve. It takes the heavy pressure with the velvet slide, erasing all the panic that we used to hide. The leather surrenders vanity to build a base, a reliable mechanic in a working space. The worn saddle carrying the heavy day, a loyal piece of leather keeping doubt away. We wore the bitter edges to a soothing round and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot ride a distance with a rigid skin. I trust the faded harbor letting comfort in. The worn saddle carrying the heavy day, a loyal piece of leather keeping doubt away. We wore the bitter edges to a soothing round and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot ride a distance with a rigid skin. I trust the faded harbor letting comfort in. We used to fight the journey in a stiff display, a miserable ending to a starting day. But time allows the fabric to adjust the shape, providing an exhausted and a sweet escape. The seat aligns exactly with my weary frame. I push the heavy pedals on the setting sun and feel the steady rhythm of a race we won. Push the pedal down, feel the leather hold, watch the highway pass, let the truth unfold. The fading is an asset in a rugged form, a brilliant little shelter from a passing storm. I realize that hoping for an untouched shine is missing all the logic of your heart and mind. Love requires a rubbing of the outer shell to navigate the journey and to do it well. We let the passing miles wear the coating out and washed away the center of a lingering doubt. I mount the heavy bicycle in the fading light, accepting the perfection of a steady ride. The worn saddle carrying the heavy, ride it out, a loyal piece of leather keeping doubt away. We wore the bitter edges to a soothing round and engineered a shelter we have finally found. You cannot ride a distance with a rigid skin. I trust the faded harbor letting comfort in. The seat is soft, the ride is smooth, we are fine. A copper socket waiting in the ceiling dark, a functional receiver for a glowing spark. We brought a glass bulb to restore the missing light, a promise promising conclusion to a fading night. The threads were built to spiral in a perfect match. A reliable mechanic with a steady catch, but pushing up the glass with an impatient hand is generating damage in a working land. We turn the heavy bulb upon an awkward tilt, a devastating error of the house we built. The harder metal grinds against the copper spine, erasing all the logic of the grand design. The ridges shred and shatter into falling dust, a miserable ending to a working trust. I try to spin the cylinder to make a hold, but gravity refuses and the night is cold. The metal loses texture and the turning dies, a devastating failure under weary eyes. I try to twist the bulb, but the metal binds. You cannot light a future when the grip is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. The stripped thread slipping in the copper base. I try to twist the bulb, but the metal binds. You cannot light a future when the grip is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the tension was a given right, ignoring all the patience in the fading light, but forcing a connection on a broken gear is leaving all the damage in the given year. The bolt spins round and round without a stopping point, a miserable failure of a vital joint. It hangs precariously upon the broken limb, a terrifying shadow in the coming dim. Twist the fragile glass, hear the metal grind, fail to catch a grip, leave the light behind. The forcing is a poison to a steady track, a devastated ending never coming back. I realize that pushing an uneven fit is guaranteeing all the vital engines quit. Love requires a turning that is smooth and clean, to document the ending of a fading scene. We ground the vital copper in a selfish rush and force the conversation to a sudden hush. I drop the useless bulb into the garbage bin, accepting the disaster of the state I am in. The strip thread slipping in the copper base. Watch it spin, try to twist the bulb, but the metal binds. You cannot light a future when the grip is dead. I leave the broken copper and the tears we shed. The thread is dead, the room is dark, I am done.
A plastic plug sitting in a wall outlet, a basic operation that we do not sweat. We push the silver prongs into the open slot, expecting the delivery of the power we got. It fed the heavy current to the waiting wire, a calculated action of a working fire. Believing it connected in a halfway stance, a generating panic in a dangerous dance. The gap is stating error in a waking dream. The electricity gathers an intense degree, a miserable boundary for you and me. the plastic housing melts and merges with the wall. A terrifying process of a heavy fall. The prongs are locked forever in a toxic weld, erasing all the promises that we beheld. The plastic melts together and the current dies. A devastating failure under weary eyes. A fuse plug freezing in the waiting wall. I try to pull the wire but the plastic binds. You cannot find an exit when the gap is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. Fuse plug freezing in the waiting wall. I try to pull the wire but the plastic binds. You cannot find an exit when the gap is dead. I stare at the disaster of the tears we shed. We acted like the halfway was a passing phase, a manageable problem in the summer haze, but putting extra pressure on the faulty ties, guaranteeing tragedy below the sky. The plastic turns a toxic in an ugly black, a miserable ending on a broken track. I grip the heavy rubber with a frantic pull, but nothing makes a separation possible. Pull the heavy cord, watch the plastic stick, fail to break the bond, leave the ending sick. The heat destroyed the only bridge we ever made, a microscopic ending to a long charade. I realize the force in an unnatural tie is throwing out the engine in a closing sky. Love requires a connection that is fully deep to handle all the promises the lovers keep. We left the iron hanging in a selfish rush and validated all the heavy fading hush. I dropped the ruined wire on the wooden floor, accepting that the power will return no more. The fuse plug freezing in the waiting wall. Watch it stick. I try to pull the wire but the plastic binds. You cannot find an exit when the gap is dead. I leave the frozen plastic and the tears we shed.